Hi, I'm Erik Jones, and this is Verse by Verse, a short podcast all about exploring the insights and lessons of the inspired Word of God. I'd like to begin this episode by asking a question. What is the basis for wisdom? In other words, what qualities should you build in your life to help you make wise decisions and build a solid framework for understanding the world around you? Well, the verse we're looking at today answers that question. It actually provides two answers that build upon each other. Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do His commandments. His praise endures forever. So we are given two keys to building wisdom: fearing God and doing His commandments, the commandments of God. Let's take a brief look at how doing these two things builds wisdom. First, fearing God. This means viewing and approaching God with an attitude of deep awe and respect. Why is the fear of God the beginning of wisdom, and not something more specific like intelligence, the desire to learn, or even knowledge itself? Well, the simple answer to that question is found in a common maxim. If you start with the wrong premise, you'll end up with the wrong conclusion. For instance, if you approach a literature class with the basic premise that reading is a useless activity and does nothing to enrich your life, you're probably not going to get much out of the class. You'll have poisoned your mind from the outset on the benefits of reading. Well, the same principle applies in life, particularly our spiritual life. If we approach life from the perspective of disrespect and disdain for our Creator, we'll poison ourselves from understanding the world as He has ordered it. Approaching life that way, we'll try to understand and build wisdom simply on our own personal ideas and observations, some of which will end up being somewhat correct, but most of which will end up being totally wrong. Life built on a mindset that doesn't fear God will simply be a life of trial and error, which will lead to a mixture of good and bad results. The sad fact is that our world is essentially built on that premise. We have rejected the fear of the Lord, and as a world and society, we can see the results. A little good here and there, but overall a world built on a litany of unwise and bad decisions. But we can cut through the nonsense of our world by just building our life on this simple premise. There is a God who is all-powerful, and He knows better than me and should be respected and honored. That essentially is the fear of the Lord. Second, we're told doing His commandments leads to a good understanding. If we define wisdom as simply having the sense to make good decisions and sound judgments when it comes to life, there's no better basis to build on than the Ten Commandments. This is closely tied to the fear of the Lord because if we fear God, we'll take His commandments seriously. We'll obey them not just for the benefits they bring, but because we deeply respect and honor the God who created them. God is all-knowing and all-wise, and He has perfect character, and in His 10 Commandments, He's distilled His character and wisdom down to 10 practical points. So by applying these points, you can develop God's wisdom. Now, the 10 Commandments don't cover every single issue we'll face in life specifically, but in a way they actually do in principle. You see, the core spiritual intent of the commandments is to help us build God's character of love in our lives. If we practice them and learn their deep spiritual intent, their principles will saturate nearly every aspect of our lives. They'll influence how we think, how we make decisions, how we treat others. Or we could say they are the foundation of wise living and wise decisions. So do you want to develop wisdom? Well, doing that is not really complicated. The best place to start is with the 2 points of Psalm 111, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all those who do His commandments. His praise endures forever. If you build your life with a mindset of fearing God and use His commandments as your basic guide for decisions, the consequences will be wisdom and a good understanding.
Verse by Verse is a companion podcast to the Daily Bible Verse blog, which you can find on the Life, Hope, and Truth Learning Center. Check out the show notes for more.